after.
So we need a way to be able to
Yeah.
call him. That's actually
Is Greg on? Yeah.
That's
I've already signed it.
Oh,
I
okay.
started it.
Always wanted that
Asked me to do it before his birthday, and I've been carrying it around. Finally,
He has not. Yeah, I remember him when he worked at UNS Motors. I bought my first car there. I bought my first car.
I just hope the town.
They should have made it that way, like
Oh, it's
appropriate
okay.
etiquette.
That's
I didn't know he was
that's
so
what I keep it strong. Because it can get away from you real quick. Because it's a thankless job.
she doesn't live.
Oh, I
here.
don't think I know.
And it's,
So
I sure remember him.
so,
Oh, that's cool.
Such a blast.
I feel bad.
that's just what I hope.
It happened.
Couple of things I have going on. So
Slipped through the cracks.
we're gonna do this meeting first.
Which one is this?
This is the normal council
Oh,
work
okay.
meeting.
Okay.
Then before we have item number 6. After item number 6,
We'll go into this
we'll
special.
do this meeting.
Okay.
Then we're gonna come back and do our closed session.
So do we have to make a motion to move, like from this meeting?
Yeah, we'll
this
have to make
meeting?
a motion
Okay.
to move to adjourn.
Greg isn't here?
So do you want to, my question is, are you approving the
We're
agenda
approving both,
first?
we're just gonna approve both agendas.
Okay, all
And
right.
then just when we get to here, we have to do a motion to
Okay,
move
all right.
out of this meeting into this meeting, then adjourn this meeting and go back to this meeting, then have our closed session.
Okay.
Just because where everyone's here for this stuff, I want to do, figure council candidates can wait,
Is they cleaned
rest of canvas vote.
and took some strong leadership roles to protect assets.
But yeah,
How long are you
the
going?
candidates in,
I'm gonna do everything it has to stay relevant to finance.
You hear people complaining about. They're gonna help you keep your values in your property. Hi, Adam. Hey, how was last night? The planning commission. Heated? No. We didn't get a bunch. There wasn't quite a few people. Oh, there was.
They voiced their concern on the road.
That was a traffic thing, not really.
Yeah,
Which it really is.
Yeah.
I'm opposed to the R3 out there, personally.
It depends on how they do it.
Yeah, you open it R3, you can't stop them from doing it.
It's on 1425.
Once it's R3, they can do whatever they want, sell it whatever they want.
That was my comment.
And Sean do it remotely. So
He's up here telling us about how he wants to do really high end stuff. It's not gonna be, PC type pack, townhomes, apartments. There's nothing.
The city approved an R3 from industrial to R3 at the end of it's at 1,400 or Motel 6. Yep.
Dave?
Right up against industrial there. Yep. Then I go to a planner commission and I didn't watch it. They approved it. They with his big brochures, the big flowers, the big boards. And, oh, look how beautiful it's gonna be and how beautiful it's gonna be. It got sold 3 months later. Yeah. As an R3 project.
You look at what happened on this. Have best of intentions, show with patience.
Yeah, I guess if we did it,
Which is not what the city was sold.
I think we need, I think there needs to be some way. Maybe it's in,
The problem we had last night.
put restrictions on what's.
I think our
The
planning.
problem we had last night was Tyler wasn't here, so we didn't have our legal advice. But it was also not properly, so it's gonna come back in 2 weeks.
Advice for any.
2 weeks it'll be a problem.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then.
oh, hi there. Little run, huh?
Well, you don't have to.
You're dressing as a
15, yeah, 15.
Oh, you were doing that.
I was with the chamber.
There's some guarantee that the bottleneck's not gonna be in the neighborhood. Bottleneck's gonna be on the property behind. The issue is, I would travel. That's not where.
Are you ready?
It's gonna be, but that's the problem.
No. Okay.
This is a special meeting.
Welcome to our city council meeting.
It's gonna be funny here. That's where the.
If everyone would be quiet, we can get started. Okay. Welcome to our city council meeting for tonight, August 21st, 2019. We will begin with an invocation. Is anyone here from Mountain View Baptist? Let's see our pastor. Okay, then we will have the invocation by Councilman Adams and then the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Cousins.
Our Father in heaven, we're indeed grateful this evening to meet here as a city council, city staff, and members of our fine community here in Cedar City. We're grateful for the blessings that we're able to enjoy of living here and in the peace and harmony that we have within our city. We're grateful for the blessings that it is in all of our lives and the lives of our children and those that we set examples for in the community and those who come to visit our community as well. We ask you this night that thy spirit might be with us as we talk about the items on the agenda, as we work through those things that we have before us, that we'll be able to have the direction that we need to go and help us in making all the decisions and be able to have a civil discussion and listen to those who desire to express their comments on behalf of the items that are before us. We're thankful for the moisture that we have received this year and pray that we might continue to get that we need to help us continue on to have the water supplies that we need. We're thankful again for all that we do have, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand and pledge allegiance to our flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Who is this for?
All right, we will now move on to our agenda order approval. This will be for both agendas. And so with that, can we get a motion to approve unless there are any changes the council would like?
Motion to approve the agendas as outlined both for this meeting and the special canvassing meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll move to council business.
Mayor, I have one thing. I think only one thing tonight. I know it's hard to believe. There is an apartment complex that was built last winter, and I'm just double checking. I'm sorry I didn't get the address today, but it is directly behind the Clarion Hotel on South Main and just to the south. I'm not sure the name of the complex, but it was finished in the winter, and I understand they negotiated with our building department to do the landscaping in the spring. Well, it is still not landscaped, and the weeds are very high in this complex. And I'm just trying to follow through to find out what we need to do to make sure this complex gets the required landscaping that it needs around it for the area businesses and for the neighbors behind them. So if we could check into that, I would appreciate it. I can clarify with someone afterwards the exact location, but it is because I don't know the name of the complex. I'm sorry.
That would be great.
Okay.
You're not even talking about the dedication.
I thought you would be covering that, Mayor.
Go for it.
Well, I just want to remind everyone here and everyone watching that this Saturday, the 24th of August, we'll be having the grand opening for our new Cedar City Animal Adoption Shelter. And there's going to be facility tours, there's some prize giveaways, there's ribbon cutting, of course, tours of the facility. And we want everyone to come out. It's going to be a great time. And it's a lovely facility that we're still putting the finishing touches on.
Thank you.
I just had one item. Kit, I don't know if you can look at the had a citizen call about the traffic out by Fiddler's Elementary at 1935 North and Wedgwood Lane. They said during the school hours, I don't know if we need some patrolling even to slow it down. They're asking if we possibly could have a stop sign on the north and south traffic at that. It's kind of a T intersection. So
You said 1925.
1935 North Wedgwood. It's just on the south side of the Fiddler's Elementary. Thank you.
Are we responsible for that trail that goes up the canyon past the Wildlife Foundation, but on the south side of the creek? That's ours. Is
The paved trail?
it's asphalt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But some bike riders have brought to my attention that some places where we tried to fill in cracks have opened wider fissures. And as you're walking, you can step over them, but for bike riders, they're a little bit of a jolt. So I just bring that to.
We just need to do some maintenance up there with crack sealing, and we can go look at that and see if that'll do it. So
Okay.
if they're too wide, we'll have to patch them with asphalt.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Are there any other council comments? No? Okay, we'll move to staff comments if there are any. Okay. Then we will move to the public agenda with public comments. If there's anyone here that would like to address the council about an item not on the agenda. Yes.
My name is Candace Howes with the Elks Lodge. I was hoping to get on the agenda for next month, but you're not having a meeting on the 11th. So I'm here hoping we can get a beer permit for September 14th for a horseshoe tournament.
Do you want to give them a little bit more?
It's for the Elks Lodge. It's our charity horseshoe tournament that we do twice a year. The first one we were able to bring in, I believe, $700 towards Shop with a Cop to buy shoes for all the kids. So we're hoping to do another one on the 14th. Hopefully close that gap for our budget and get some shoes bought this December.
Okay. Oh, perfect.
Good.
So this would have to go on if the council is amenable, we can put this on the agenda for next week for you to take action on.
Mhm.
Chief Adams with the police department. Everything looks good as it always does. So a positive recommendation on our end. Of course, we're a bit biased. Hopefully that doesn't affect your decision.
We'll keep it that way.
Thank you.
Okay.
Candace, we did this, what, 3 or 4 months ago?
Yeah, we did one in June.
Yeah, I knew it was right away. Okay.
I think this is the 7th year we've done it. And as far as I know, there's never been any complaints or any problems. So hopefully with your blessing, we'll continue.
All right. Thanks for what you do.
You need us to make a motion to put this on
No,
the,
we just
just,
need to say that we can put it on the agenda for,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
fine.
good.
it'll go on the action agenda
All
for
right.
next week.
Perfect. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
Thanks.
My name is Dawn Chaplin. I reside on the corner of Nichols Canyon and Cottontail Drive. I'm here today to request a traffic study for that intersection. With the increased amount of teenage drivers up in that neighborhood, I'm seeing a lot of people cutting the corners, speeding through. They're hitting that dip really fast. I know I've called 2 accidents in, and this is what the local PD has advised me to do.
I'm sorry, could you give us the intersection again?
Nichols Canyon and
Oh,
Cottontail.
Nichols Canyon. Gotcha.
Can you add that one, Kit, to while you guys are out there?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
thank you.
Tom, you have to wait your turn this week. This is,
Is there a number to pull?
Hi, Daryl Owen. I actually want to talk about a letter that myself and some others received on August 5th from the city. This is regarding the Westview Drive expansion. And first of all, I just want to say thank you for those that put this together and met with us. It was a great opportunity for the community to kind of voice their concerns and hopefully drive the project into not necessarily another direction, but a better direction.
Really quick, does the council know what he's referring to? Do you want to give them a little bit?
I do, but I got a
Yeah,
copy of the
that way
letter,
people know
so-
what you're referring to and all this.
Certainly. This is in reference to a meeting that we had on July 1st. There was three people from the city that met with us, and we discussed possible alternatives to the widening of Westview. And in general, this letter says that it was declined, our proposal, which was to transfer a lot of the traffic from Westview over to 4700 and possibly widen 4700. But it did leave some openings for discussion. One was in paragraph 6, and I think all of you should have received a copy of this letter according to what's on the front. But item 6, staff is not adverse to acquiring all the right of way from undeveloped property that is as the opportunity exists, that is on the opposite side of Westview, or on the west side of Westview. And this is all undeveloped, instead of going after the residential property that's on the east side. So my response is to this, we all have concerns with the expansion of Westview and the quality of lifestyle that will be impacted by this project. In some respects, Westview expansion is necessary for the safety and progress of our community. The community in general is in agreement that this project is beneficial for everyone. However, the implementation and details are extremely important to these projects. The purpose of this letter is to encourage the city officials to clearly define the details of where Westview expansion land acquisition will occur and the exact routing of Westview. This is the logical choices to expand Westview on the undeveloped side, such as farmland and non-community residential property as planned, and not the community residential property as planned. This is a lower cost approach, since the individual residential property is usually more costly for the city and the county to purchase. The problem of relocating the fences and structures, as stated in item 5, are also an additional expenditure that is not required if the expansion property is planned on the undeveloped side of the farmlands. Some residents that reside on the adjacent to west side have indicated to the project officials that they have been threatened with eminent domain actions. This is the wrong direction. The community would like to work with the project officials to come to a resolution that works for everyone. So we're making a formal request, and I'm speaking for the people that are in my community. Some, I believe, are here tonight. To redraw the current Westview expansion project so it takes advantage of the undeveloped farmland before any residential property is considered for the project. Number 2, take all possible steps needed for the purchase of the undeveloped farmland before attempting to purchase residential property. And then number 3, do everything possible to resolve land conflicts before proceeding with eminent domain actions. So we're looking for sponsors. We're looking for a way in the city to work. We're asking you to work with the community on this and work with those residents as well as the landowner on the other side, so we can have some sort of resolution that makes sense for everybody. But just coming in there and pressing for eminent domain is not the right action. Thank you.
Can I get a copy?
Sure.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Owen.
Thank you.
Good evening, Tom Jett. I'd like to make two mentions tonight.
You actually
I know.
stated your
He
name.
reminded me. The old guys are good for something. I was driving down Kitty Hawk a couple days ago. It was around 7:30 in the morning, and I saw one of our local city officials. That's not city officials. One of our city employees from the road department, Corey Childs, cutting weeds out by the animal shelter. I stopped and I said, "Did you change departments?" He said, "No, but the city wanted some additional beautification out in that area to celebrate this new animal shelter." And I said, so we didn't have anybody available. And so
I took the job on myself to get it done, in the morning before the guys come in. That says a lot about Corey. It says a lot about our city and the teamwork, and the staff all working together, not drawing lines of this is my area and this is my area. So that's number one. Number two, everybody's heard the jokes that about the garbage guys. Well, most people have. I shouldn't say everybody. We had a person move into our neighborhood about 3 weeks ago. They did not know to put their trash can out on the street. They put it in their driveway right at the edge of the sidewalk. And our driver of the garbage truck got out of his truck, rolled it down to the street so the person would not go without the garbage pickup. That says a lot. I'm not sure who the driver was. I just saw a body from down the way doing it. And I'm really proud to see those guys doing that, that they care. And so it's pretty important that we recognize the people caring that work here. They may not make as much money, but let me tell you, there's a lot of appreciation that if it was in money, they'd be very rich. And so number two, to Mr. Phillips, I plan on going this weekend to our animal shelter opening. Are there going to be hot dogs?
No.
No hot dogs?
No, we have air
Okay.
conditioning here. I hope there'll be cool dogs.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your work.
You just can't not be inappropriate. All right. Is there any other? All right.
Mayor, I thought of one thing that I forgot to mention. So I talked to Mr. Bittman earlier about, the road department cut through Brook Street onto Industrial and then 600, I believe it's 600. I noticed I just was worried about stop signs being put up temporary.
Yeah, they put a couple out there.
Did they I didn't see one on 600 yet. So
I saw one.
Yeah,
I assume there was two.
I saw the one, but I'm worried about that other street where we've cut it through. Somebody pulls out. I'm worried about a liability issue there.
Double check.
Okay.
Are those going to be the permanent ones that are
No,
cut
so
through
Jeff
then, or
Jeff
what?
was doing chip seal down in the area, and he wanted to leave a way for folks to get out. So he just punched those through as a temporary
Okay.
means to help folks get in and out while they were chip sealing.
I just worried about a stop sign if somebody went out. And got
So you're
there.
600.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah, I think you're right. I didn't see it there either.
Perfect. Then we will move on with our business agenda with our public portion. Item number 1, consider final plat approval for the Canyon Loft Pewdie.
Good evening, Dallas Buckner, Go Civil. Once we get this up. So this is a PUD project. We brought the vicinity plan through, May or April. It's a 2-acre piece over on 1425 north of the hospital. 2 acres, 20 units, 2-plex, couple 4-plexes, and a 6-plex. So if we get the imagery up, we can go through it, but
I'm going to get our screen fixed one of these days.
Just don't hold your mouth right over there, buddy.
I know.
Okay, so
there we go. All right. So this is the Pewdie Boundary. Like I said, 20 townhomes, 20 units.
Can you describe where this is?
Yeah. So it is. There we go. So Main Street, Northfield. There's Stonehenge right here. It just doesn't show up on the imagery. And this parcel is roughly right there. Yeah, and this is the hospital.
Right next to Red Cedar Rock.
Yep.
okay.
So the city's received all of the requirements it's needed from bonding to payment of fees. We are still waiting for the actual letter of credit. The developer's been out of the country and hasn't been able to get into the bank to sign it. I did get a letter from the bank assuring me that I would have it before the action meeting. So I will make sure that that's in place before the council votes on it.
Would you rather have this on action?
Let me go back to the other screen. Sorry. Thank you. And this received all the right recommendations out of the Planning Commission. Is that correct?
It did. Yep.
Do you have a question?
No.
You just thinking?
Just thinking. Just looking at it. Don't.
Okay. This will go on action so that we make sure we get the appropriate documentation.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you're good. Thanks. Okay. Item number 2, discuss plans and financing for the Glacier Ice Rink. That is you. So one thing I'm going to ask, because I know everybody is that's here is super passionate about this project. Can we stick to the not just the passion part, but the actual financing plan? We know you're all super passionate. That way we kind of stay more on task as well.
Okay.
Go for it. Thanks,
Sounds
Dallin.
good. Yeah, Dallin Staley, if I didn't say that. So, yeah, so guess we got a good crew here. I don't know who's watching at home, but I gave Kit a little PowerPoint.
I'm not sure which.
So it's the first one right there.
This one?
No, you're on it. Just yep. So try to keep it short and sweet. So guess I can click through, right?
We like the sweet part.
Short's not bad either, right? Okay, so just in case there's people that are interested in what's going on, to do a real quick get up to speed thing. So several months ago, we came with a plan. It's kind of like deja vu today, coming back with another plan. But essentially, we wanted to upgrade the ice rink where it currently is sitting in its current location. We kind of presented our plan for how we wanted to do that, and there was several concerns with that proposal. So some of those concerns, the main ones, I think, was just that site is also the site where the city had planned and already done quite a bit of work to put gyms in the future. And so if we carried out that plan, that would have made the gym project a lot more expensive, and probably put the gyms in a less ideal situation for what was already planned. So, and on the other hand, moving the ice rink from where it's already kind of set up and could have taken advantage of some of that, would make it more expensive. So that was kind of the dilemma that faced us with that proposal, to do a real quick get up to speed. So essentially that plan was eventually chosen that we wouldn't move forward with it. And so that brings us to kind of where we are now. So at the time that the council decided they didn't want to move forward with that, that was kind of preceded by a fair amount of discussion and kind of, I guess, discussion on how we'd move forward if we didn't do that one. So it was, I think, fairly strongly stated by most that the city wants, they want an ice rink, they want the rink, they also want the gyms, and that it's in everyone's best interest to try and find a good way to make both of those happen. So it was well understood by everyone that by moving the ice rink to a different location, the construction costs of a new facility would be more. And as we sat in discussions with staff and council, we discussed funding options that the city could participate in, helping the ice rink still be viable in a different location with some city funding. Talked about the capital improvement fund, and that was kind of the main point of discussion there. But there may be other options too. And essentially we said, if we say no to this plan and we move forward with new plans, that it is the intention to approve that funding and make things move forward. So, and that the Glacier Staley Rec would still be bringing a significant amount of private funding and donations to the project to make it a true public-private partnership, like we've all felt was a good thing. So with that quick background, so several weeks, a few months later, so we got back together, got our heads back together with several people. Mark Wilson kind of heading up the design part of the team, but we've also worked with several others in the community, with input from Kit, and had Schmidt Construction go up and look at some sites with us, do several site visits to look at different options and give some input. Had Reliant Engineering do a fair amount of planning for how the sites could lay out and what would be needed to take care of all the main important things. Ellsworth Paulson, who helped us with our original estimates, helped us again with putting together the estimates. So we had a pretty good team kind of putting their heads together and working on getting us the most accurate estimates that we think we could get from conceptual plans. So this is kind of what we came up with. It's going to be really similar to what we were originally planning, a little different layout, because we couldn't take advantage of some of the stuff that was already in place at the Aquatic Center. There's it's a little more of a facility than we had planned in the original plan, but it was kind of needed to be able to function for what we need to do here. So this is just the floor plan, the main level. And I think there's a laser pointer on here. Okay, yeah. So it's got all the same main things that we had planned before. So NHL size ice sheet with a roof over the top, walls on the west, south, and part of the east side. So that's really important for protecting it from the weather, as we kind of have discussed before, protecting it from the sun, the wind, snow, rain, everything else. And the lobby, really important part of the facility for what we're trying to do. It'll be an athletic facility, but it's also a public facility that's going to have a lot of people coming here to do just kind of the recreational public things. So we really needed a good amount of space in the lobby that's comfortable and good for lots of people to come and go and hang out in. So we got a good lobby space, good efficient design on the front desk. We got a good concession area, spot for rental skates, that kind of stuff. So, and just basic necessities, I guess, that we need here: the locker rooms, some storage, that kind of stuff. So kind of one of the things that was added from the original plan was that there is some restrooms and showers for the locker rooms. In our original idea, especially when there's more competitive teams, like if a team came to play SUU, those teams are going to want a shower when they're done. And in the past, when SUU had a team come down here and play, we just paid the Aquatic Center to stay open late, and they could use the showers in the locker rooms there. But that's not really an option. So we thought that was a needed thing for this facility on its own. Yeah. Besides that, it's just got what it needs to be a public facility. So it still has a mezzanine level, but it's a lot smaller than what was originally planned. All that's planned is just a mezzanine level over the locker rooms, just for seating. So it should seat a little over 500 people, which is pretty good for what we're trying to do here. So,
Dallin, real quick. So could the mezzanine over the lobby area be converted later, or is that possible?
Converted later
For more seating on top.
It is already planned for seating.
Over the lobby.
Over the lobby. That would be a question for Mark, probably. Do you want him to answer that now or later?
That's fine. I'm just curious. It's okay.
Okay. My guess would
Sure,
be
Mark will
probably
be up
not.
before the night
But
is out.
yeah.
He can address it when he talks.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of the highlights. So really similar layout to what we had before, similar size. What's that?
Where is this located?
Right
What
now.
property would this be located on? Okay. It would be just to the west of the Aquatic Center parking lot. There's the corner. Actually, I think it's got a site plan right
There
here.
you go.
So yeah, so the rink is currently here and this would be just out here. So
Aquatic Center is right over in the corner.
yeah, Aquatic Center right
South
here.
of the ball fields.
Yep, ball fields up here. So yeah, so this is the site plan then, how it fits in there. And I think it finishes everything in really nice. The whole property, aside from maybe this far north side, would all be finished in at that point with landscaping and parking and just all buttoned up. So that'll be nice.
One thing you might mention, Dallin, is that instead of putting it out to the west of the Aquatic Center and remove all that parking, you're not removing parking to add parking, right?
Yeah.
That was one thing that right. So you're actually adding.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yep. So yeah, the idea is we'll kind of talk about when we get to the proposal is it would share parking with what the other stuff that's here, both the parking here and the parking on the street would be available for people coming here. Yeah, so this is just some artistic renderings of what it would look like in reality. So the plan is to build a lot simpler steel structure. So kind of the main structure. And Mark, if I get it wrong, correct me, but the main structure is kind of planned to be just sort of a prefabricated, at least the structure of it, steel building. And then the main skin would be stucco texture type insulated panels. So they would have a good look to them. And then just to give it a little better look, a little bit of masonry work to kind of break up the flatness, I
And
guess,
I'm
of the
assuming
walls.
that masonry work would tie in with the existing buildings we have, so it all looks like it's all one
Yeah.
design.
Yeah. So yeah, you can see here the color scheme should match.
Mhm.
You know, it won't look exactly like the Aquatic Center, but tones and colors will all blend in. So
That's looking west, right? Kind of northwest.
yeah.
West.
Yep. So this would be just kind of looking at the entrance. Kind of nice. It'll be turned a little bit. So yeah, from the parking lot, you can kind of see into the action, what's going on. So kind of a cool view from the parking lot. This would be kind of the view from inside. So from on the ice, you can still see out. You still have a pretty good view of the scenery to the east and that kind of stuff. So still keeps that really unique kind of feel that we were going for with the partially outdoor. And then, you know, a nice public lobby where people can come in and be comfortable and get out of the freezing cold when they're ready to be warm. So that's kind of what we're shooting for there. I thought I'd just briefly talk about kind of the programming just one more time. And kind of some of the reason is just from some of the discussions that we've had, just to kind of reiterate that this isn't a 3-month a year thing that we're planning. It's a year-round skating facility, but also multi-use facility, kind of community asset. So we'll do all the same kinds of ice skating things that we've been doing with some additional things that we can do, having some shelter from the elements and a longer time during the day that we can be out on there doing things without the ice melting on us. So public skating, learn to skate, hockey, figure skating, curling, kind of all your standard ice activities. So that would go on roughly from October to March. And then from about April to September, there would be no ice in the facility, and would do also a lot of skating activities still with roller skating, still the public skating sessions that are just recreational for people, still learn to skate classes, roller hockey type stuff. So people can still stay engaged in the skating activities, but with the summertime stuff, with people being a lot more active, kids being out of school, we think there's an awesome opportunity and probably a strong desire from the community to have more multi-use type activities there too. That would be really fun to do in kind of a sheltered environment that still feels like you're outdoors. So one of the ones that we are probably most excited for is a summer day camp type thing where we can just do a multitude of activities that just kind of tie in not just the skating pavilion facility, but everything that the site has to offer with activities at the lake. We can do fishing and kayaking and all kinds of stuff up there as kind of group activities or different things that we can do. So a way to keep kids active and engaged in good, safe, active things while they're not in school and needing things to do. And we can do things like pickleball leagues and roller derby and volleyball and all kinds of things on a sport court surface. Like you can kind of see a picture here of a similar facility where they're doing a women's volleyball league in the evening.
I don't
Nothing
suppose
to
we
do.
could build 4th of July floats in there. I was only
Maybe.
kidding, Dallin.
Maybe.
I really was kidding. Looking for space.
It'd be
What about-
shady.
What about pickleball? Would that
Yeah,
be something
you could
that
put pickleball courts in. So arena soccer, something. There's a lot of soccer players. I don't know how popular that would be, but a lot of uses that could just serve a lot of different interests in the summer, I guess. But yeah, so
How does
should
that
be
compare to a soccer field size, the league?
it would be smaller, but there is arena soccer is an actual sport that they play inside of like dasher boards like this. The nets are set back in the boards and it's kind of its own sport, even though it's still soccer. But anyway, just lots of possibilities. So just for anyone that's kind of out there, when we're talking about this project, we're talking about more than just a seasonal ice rink. It's a year-round facility. So yeah, with all that in mind, this is kind of the breakdown of the estimates that we received. So the bottom line number came to, right at 5.7 million for this facility. So kind of as we discussed at the beginning, the idea moving forward is that the city would help to bridge the gap in that extra cost of moving the ice rink. So this is what we'd like to propose with a cost of 5.7 million. We would like to propose just splitting that cost 50-50. So yeah, we don't want to ask more from the city than we are willing to bring to the table ourselves. So that's kind of where we got to that number. That's putting a fair amount more burden on us, I guess, than we were originally planning on having with the original proposal. But we think that with the city's funding and kind of that springboard that we can still bridge that gap. So that's how we got to the number. Our portion of that 2.85 million would come in different forms. As you know, we've got a lot of in-kind donations that we've kind of lined up already. We think that there's good potential for a good amount more in that direction. We think that we can, with a fair amount already committed, we think that we can get some good grants and stuff from some private foundations. And if we still need to make some up, we still have the option of a business loan that could help top it off. So, of course, we've got to be careful there where we're not asking for any kind of long-term subsidy on utilities and stuff. Our debt service, we just got to keep that to a manageable level. So, yeah. So once we get the facility built, the plan would be to donate that to the city essentially before we start operating in it. We would donate the facility to the city. And
What would be the reason behind that?
so just to keep a separation from the operating entity and the owner of the property. Yeah, we've consulted with several people, legal counsel, that kind of stuff. It's what we do in our own business too. That it's always a good idea for the entity that's kind of exposing themselves to liability by operating the business in the property, that they don't own the property, to protect it from any lawsuits or something that could come against the operating company. So really that's the reason that we'd want to do it. And it's kind of the cleanest and easiest way to keep those separate, just to let the city own it. There's really no value to us in owning it because we can't borrow against it. We can't sell it if we didn't want to do it anymore, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, so I guess we're already going to be entering into a lease with the city. It might as well be a lease that just includes all the property instead of a lease and then a sublease and complicating it. So
who maintains the insurance then on the property?
That'll be determined, and that's something that we've talked to Paul about. He's got a quote from the city's insurance provider on what that insurance would be, and we'll get a quote from another insurance provider, kind of see how it works out. I guess long answer short, it'll be insured, and whichever way is most economical is probably the way we would prefer to do it. If it's under the city's policy, then we'll probably just roll that into the lease payment. So, yeah. Yeah, so that's what we would like to do with it. So, from there, yeah, we would expect to be responsible for the facility and all the operations and maintenance that goes on in it and around it. So essentially what we've talked about with everyone is that we would maintain the facility, the landscaping and everything out to the curb that surrounds the building. And then the city would maintain the parking lots and things from the curb on. So, yeah.
But the initial installation of the additional parking, is that part of this project?
Yeah, that's in the estimate.
Right. I thought it was. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, and it's broken out in a few sections, parking lot and the new roadway, that kind of stuff. Yeah, so the cost is to finish it in, and then we'd draw official lines on the map and that kind of stuff of what was our responsibility to maintain and what's the city's. So I think that's kind of the gist of our proposal. So essentially, I guess just to kind of put it in perspective, I mean, yeah, we're asking for a good amount of contribution from the city. We think we're bringing a lot to the table too, and long term, the long term expenses of something like this usually will surpass the initial capital input. So it's pretty typical for any public facility like this to have a significant deficit, I guess, year after year. So we think where that doesn't exist, that this is actually, it's a really good deal for the city, despite the fact that we do need some help getting it put in place. So
could you just clarify for maybe on I don't know if it's the floor plan or the renting, whatever is the best. You talked about the northeast side still being open, and I've seen the rendering, but how is it divided so the building is secure? In the past, I know it's not been a big problem because you've kind of been tucked behind the
floor plan probably would be the best, but so the building itself will all be enclosed, so everything can be locked.
Okay.
Everything that's inside could be locked, and then it'll be surrounded by a wrought iron fence all along the perimeter there too. So
okay,
that's not to say someone couldn't jump the fence, but they could also jump the fence into the lake or other places where that kind of stuff is. So yeah, so I guess
then is the opening then basically from the edge of the building here around to the other end of the building there? Is that where it's open?
Yeah, so that's probably maybe wrong way. best seen from the rendering here. So yeah, so this was the entrance here. So it's
Okay.
open on the northeast corner
Down to the south.
and then all the way around the north side
Okay.
to the west side. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
which is good. It's open on the best side that has the best view, and it's closed to the prevailing winds that we usually get from the southwest. And so we think that it's the perfect situation for keeping it sheltered, but keeping that outdoor feel.
There are high panels and stuff there too, so it wouldn't be easy to get on the ice or.
Yeah, that's a good point. It'd be pretty tough to climb over the glass. By the time you get 6 feet of glass on top of 4 feet of the boards, it's a 10-foot, climb to get over there. So,
Well, the middle school is right across the street.
that's right. Hopefully, we'll be open anytime those kids are out of school. So.
There you go. There you go.
So Dallin, the other proposal you'd asked for, if you could have left the ice rink in the current location, you were going to pretty much build the building, but you were asking the city to pay the utilities, which was, you were estimating at about $85,000 a year times 20 years was about $1.7 million.
Yeah.
So that you're basically asking for about, over that commitment that we had talked about, you're asking for about another $1 million.
A little
correct?
over $1 million more. Yeah. If you look at it that way, that the city's total contribution could have been 1.7 million in the previous proposal.
Right. That's just in my head. That's how I was thinking of it.
And are you fairly confident? And I know these are just cost estimates, but we're fairly confident because I guess if we're going to move ahead on any of this kind of stuff, we want an insurance that the contribution is going to be capped at this level, whatever that level is, and that's where it will be, and not escalate beyond that.
Yeah, I'm reasonably confident. Maybe Mark might be the best one to say how confident he is in it, but we did have a pretty good team working on it, so it's not just a open the book and see how many square feet and plug it in type estimate. But
can I ask you a question? Like one way or another, would you be coming, say magically the costs are more, would you be coming back and asking for more money, or would this be?
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Okay. Yeah, so our plan would be that any overruns we would be able to pick up and carry. Of course, there would be a limit to that.
Sure.
You can't say that, if it goes $2 million over that we can just pull $2 million out. So, so yeah, and that's something that I've been asked by some of the council members too. So I think maybe the best way to answer that is our plan would be that we would be able to pick up overruns. By the time we actually start digging, we should have some pretty solid numbers to know if those overruns are going to be $1 million. We might not start digging. We might wait and try and raise more funds at that point. If it came to $1 million overrun and we were 3/4 of the way done, that would be tough. That might,
right.
Just to be honest, I guess. So
Yeah, no, it's thank you.
This is Mark Wilson, the architect. Did you still want to have me answer a question or two?
Yeah.
As far as the cost estimate is concerned, cost estimates at this stage are usually quite conservative as far as making sure that we don't underestimate the cost of the building, because it's always so much harder to go back and ask for more money than it is to say, oh, whoopee, we've overestimated what we think it might cost. So we've tried to be conservative in the estimates. We've used a system for the building as far as the structural system is concerned, and the finishes on the building that are cost effective by using a metal building skeleton and still making the appearance upgraded from what you usually see with a metal building with just the corrugated metal panels. We're using the stucco finish insulated metal panels that give a finish both inside and out. So once you put the metal panel up against the structure, it's a finished wall inside and out. It's quite economical to build. It's well insulated. Everything works very well. So
is the maintenance pretty standard on that?
You just hose it down. So
what's the R value on that, Mark?
R value is let me think, 17 on the walls. So yeah, it gives a good R value. With most of the building being open anyway, we're insulating just the portions of the building that needs to be insulated for the HVAC system. So
I know we have this beautiful rendering right here, but could you just elaborate just a bit on what will we see on the Royal Hunt Cove Drive side of the building? That is the south, west, east.
okay, there's a projection. Well, is this thing what I'm supposed to run to help me out here? Okay. Yeah. All right. Let me go back to this. If you can see, the Royal Hunt Drive side is, whoops. Which one is the green thing? Green thing. Okay, there we go. So this is what you'd see from the Royal Hunt Drive, and I've designed it so that there are some projections off that side of the building that will break up that elevation, and put a roof structure on top of that. That's it's got a hipped roof on the corners to break it up and make it attractive. So it's not just a big blank wall out there. There's also a masonry wainscot that is the same materials that's on the Aquatic Center that goes up about 4 feet all the way around and goes up higher in some portions. It'll go all the way to the roof level on these projections and also up here towards the front. So dress it up a bunch.
Yeah.
And it should be something that you can be proud of.
Yeah.
So the mezzanine over the lobby, could that be expanded to hold more seating if it need be?
Well, probably
structurally.
Dallin and I have talked about expanding if more seating were needed to do that here on this side rather than here, because this structurally is easy to do. We pour a slab over the top of those walls that will support it below that are the locker rooms. So that's a fairly inexpensive way to do that with a couple of sets of stairs getting up there. The lobby, we've kept to a single-story building. It has fairly high ceilings, but in order to get that up to a point where you could walk in there on a second story, we'd have to increase the height of that quite a bit. So I don't think it's feasible with this design to do that.
Okay.
And again, that the seating wouldn't be the greatest from here. You could put in a little bit of seating in that portion and look out this direction, but it wouldn't be very much.
How would you do it on the north side? How would you do that?
Well, structurally, those would just be freestanding bleachers that would be
down
along
low.
this
You
side.
wouldn't have them up high. You just have them down low.
Right.
I see. Okay.
So you'd access those from the main deck.
That's right.
Be inside the glass.
Yeah.
Outside the glass.
Yeah. There is no glass over here. This is all open. So the only thing that you're going to see here are the columns. That line that you see across here is a dashed line that indicates the roof line above. Right. But it's all open between those columns, and then the decorative fence is out here along this line.
That'd be pretty, I mean, other than the cost of the bleachers, that'd be fairly inexpensive just to plop them down.
Really easy
You
to
could
do.
add quite a bit then.
It would just be a prefabricated aluminum or whatever bleacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
No more questions for Mark right now?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Dallin, I have another question for you. I actually know the answer, but I'd like maybe for the audience to explain is regarding Steady Rec Management and your 501c3 status, because I think that does affect the ability of some of the fundraising efforts.
Yeah. So our 501c3 status is approved, official, done. So so we can now apply for those bigger grants from foundations like the Eccles or others. That's a good thing. Gives us hope that we can make up that 2.85 on our side. So.
Well, and I guess the other question I would have, and perhaps this is where Jason maybe need to help me here, but if the city were to do a commitment to this project of whatever significance it is, does it all need to be upfront, or can a commitment be over 2 years and you get part of it in this fiscal year and part of the next fiscal year if there's a letter of credit? I don't even know if we can do something like that.
Sorry, that was loud. Time-wise, it's really up to the council. We can do any number of arrangements for distribution of funds.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I think it's a great project, and I'm really hoping that we can make this work. Obviously,
Hope so too.
the dollar amount is big,
Yeah.
and there's lots of capital improvements the city needs, you know, all the way from fire stations to roads to everything else. But we prize, or we tell ourselves that quality of life and family and recreation is part of the joy of living here. And so part of that has to be, you know, the proof in the pudding is for us to step and do something about it. So
yeah,
I think it's a great project, and I want to see what we can do to help it.
Thanks.
I'd just like to bring a couple things up that I think are positives. I think number one, we have a public-private partnership that's been proven for 6 years. You guys have met the test of time. And the other is, and not to be negative in any way, but a lot of our recreational facilities, the Aquatic Center, the Heritage Center, the Diamond Z, we're all, you know, they're all running a deficit. And this would be a one-time investment. And if, when you think about when I brought up the utility issue, it basically, at this, it'd be a little over $1 million investment over what we'd kind of talked about on that other deal. And that's a one-time investment. And after that, the utilities, the maintenance, everything's taken care of. We just reap the benefits of the economic benefit over the next 20, 30, whatever years that's in existence, right? So that's,
yeah. And I think quality of life too, like
right,
Scott
exactly.
said,
And that's
so.
what I mean. It's, we just don't have the constant utilities and upkeep and you know, I don't know, what are we running deficit on the Aquatic Center? I'm not trying to be negative at all. I'm just, the reality is it 400, 450?
We transfer that much. It's not all deficit. We've been trying to build the fund balance. Just pools are very expensive when they
Right.
need repairs. So yeah,
Exactly.
probably under 400,000
Okay.
operationally. But.
So 400,000 a year for the Aquatic Center. So when you, and this is a one-time,
yeah,
in my mind, it's a one-time investment the city makes, and then we're off the hook. And the Glacier Corporation is running it and bearing that burden.
Yeah.
I think this is a template for a lot of things we want to do in the future. The public-private nature of this. I mean, this could extend to soccer fields, the dog park that has been mentioned. I just, when I think of doubling the number of taxpayer money, in other words, if we put in 2.85 million and you put in 2.85 million, we have literally doubled the impact of taxpayer dollars. And I just think that is a fabulous way to go at these kinds of projects. Now, my big concerns are, and I'm an accountant, so I shouldn't go here, but are legal concerns and just how legal feels about the relationship that has been proposed and our owning the facility, having it operated by a nonprofit organization. We can write that kind of deal, and you feel okay about that?
Yeah, I've kept running notes for the last 6 months of different lease terms that we've talked about, and I mean, there's going to be a lot of hammering out of terms as we move forward. But legally, it's an appropriate thing to put together this kind of a partnership to move forward if the council so decides.
Okay.
What's the legal time period? Do we have to have public hearings to, this is a significant amount of taxpayer money to spend? What kind of public hearings or notification? I guess that's where my concern comes. I actually called John Whitaker today to ask if we could put a ballot question, and I guess we have until the 4th of September. I don't know how to get taxpayer input because this isn't my money. Everyone knows I love the ice rink. I love recreation, but it's not my money. And so I don't know how we go about getting a lot of input from the public, I guess would be my question.
Yeah, so I mean, we deal with this question in Planning Commission and we deal with it in City Council. How do we let more people know? If the council were to move forward with this, depending on the funding options that you work with through Jason, my guess is there'd need to be a budget revision that would require 10 days notice to the public. We could go above and beyond what state law requires. We could put it on the Facebook page. We always put it on our city website. We could put it on the state notice website, but we all know how effective those are at times.
Well, I think it does deserve full disclosure because this is a significant amount of money. And I think we do want to hear from the public and help us guide the decision on what we think is best. But on the other hand, we want to make sure we don't hold this up so long because we have been debating this for 6 months or more already.
Can I ask you a question, Dallin?
Yeah.
We'll get to that. Before we talked about heaven forbid things don't work out, if there was an exit strategy type thing.
Yeah.
Under this new concept, what would something like that look like?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Definitely something you want to keep in mind. And I think a few of us have talked about this. So I guess we wouldn't expect any reimbursement or any payback for what we put into the facility. So essentially, I guess the best I could say right now is the exit strategy would be that the city would own a $5.7 million facility for $2.85 million. And we would take care of all of our obligations on our side and not expect the city to pick up our slack, I guess. In that way, I can't think of a lot else that you could promise. I mean, if everything goes south, you don't have much else to offer other than that. So if anyone has any other questions to that, I don't know that I have any better answer than that, but
That's pretty straightforward.
yeah.
No, but I think what's
Dave's
really
coming up.
important for me in this decision process too is that you've been so forthcoming and you've also answered a lot of our concerns to make sure that it was a multi-use year-round facility.
Yeah.
Because we want to make sure that we don't invest this kind of money for something that's going to operate 3 or 4 months out of the year.
Yeah, for sure.
And I thank you for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And
You're
I
good, Dave.
just so everyone's clear, I mean, the goal is to serve the community in every way that we can. We're nonprofit. We can't profit from it. And so, I mean, our mission is really no different than the city's mission in facilities that they build and offer for improving the quality of life. So.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Gary.
You're okay.
Dave Staley. The one thing that I think is important to remember is that I am the one putting my name under all of this as basically the underwriter of the private portion of this. We will be seeking funding from other places, but I can tell you from my vantage point that it would be very hard to pry us out of there if we're trying to keep me from having to exercise the need to cover these, the loan amounts or anything like that. So we're creative people, and I do think there has to be a relationship of trust. I've mentioned this to a number of you that you can't write on paper. Those are some things you can't write on paper. I know you have to have legal contingencies in place, but if I'm going to have to go and back up money that is not being paid, if we don't stay there and work and try to find ways to make everything continue to produce revenue, then I'm the one that has to take that hit. As far as the obligations are concerned. So I'm not going to do that. And just, I guess you have to kind of trust that to a large degree as well. We may need to come up with some language on exit things, but we are not going to walk away. I will do some butt kicking if anybody wanted to walk away and say, there you go, Dave, you've got your name on the bottom line. So I don't see that happening. Any other questions for me?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Hello, I'm Carrie Fain. Just to speak on the concern about notifying the public and keeping just kind of an open dialogue and letting them know what's going on. When we originally started the ice rink project 7 years ago, we brought to council a petition with over 3,500 signatures on it. Is that something that would help ease the mind of the council if we got on board here in the next week and went out and got a signed petition by as many as we could, just to kind of help for some feedback, just stating exactly what it is that Staley Rec is asking our community to get behind? Would that be something of interest? Would that help you guys?
I don't know. That would be a very focused group. You would be hitting the taxpayers that want it, not necessarily a wide sampling. And so,
well, when I've gone out before, like I said, I don't work. I've got 5 kids and I take every one of them with me.
You work if you have 5 kids.
Yeah. Yes. I get the community involved, and we don't just go to people we know. We've gone and walked through every parking lot in town. We hit the events. We're Festival City USA. We hit every event and we speak to every person there. So we're not just targeting the people who we know will say yes. I mean, to get 3,500 signatures, that can't be it. But we had overwhelming support before, and if it's subjective with those kinds of numbers,
I don't know.
So I'm just saying, if that would help, I'm absolutely on board.
I don't imagine it would hurt, but I just want to make sure that there's not
that it's
so
worth
much
it.
effort
Yes.
for you to go to that. And,
Yeah. That
Oh, like,
you know,
like Miss Mayor said, we're very passionate. So things like that are easy. I can't come up with a 2.85 million. I've got a daughter going to college next year. So anything that we can do, our community of ice lovers is willing to get behind it and help. If it's something as simple as that could ease the council's mind and ease the taxpayers' mind, and so that the information's getting out, we're more than happy to do that, because we do want to see this come to fruition.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carter Wilkie, have you officially opened up to public comments yet? Would you like to do that? So
This one doesn't necessarily, as long as they are focused on the plan or the financing aspect,
perfect.
then we can discuss it.
Okay, good. Okay, I just had a couple of questions. Again, Carter Wilkie. One thing that had been mentioned is, as far as this being a one-time investment, one question I had, the city would be responsible for all parking lot maintenance going forward. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so, and does that, and that includes when the day comes that it has to be re-chip sealed, repaved, everything that would be on the city's dollar, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so there are some ongoing costs. It's not 100% a one-time investment. What about landscaping? Who's responsible for the landscaping?
The Staley Rec is around the facility.
Perfect. Okay, and then my only other question would be, so because it hasn't been mentioned, as far as the lease agreement itself, how long of a term? At the end of the term, is it renewable by year? Is this a forever? Is this, because I know before in the previous proposal, they were looking for a 20-year lease. Are they still looking for just the 20? And then what's the exit strategy after that? What's the lease agreement look like?
I would think it would be a lot more than 20. The 20-year was stipulated based on maybe that becoming
they were going to move eventually.
a gym,
and
that would become a gym, and they were designing it that way. But to me, this would need to be. I mean, I'm probably speaking out of turn for the Staleys and Glacier, but I would think at least a 50-year lease would be appropriate.
Is that what
for
the city?
this kind of investment?
Okay.
The only discussion I've had is 20 years. But
Okay.
we haven't even sat down to start penciling out terms. This
I mean,
is all,
Dave, what are you thinking?
I think you're asking a good question, but I think it's premature. We're just working out the details, but I'm glad you brought it up, because those are the kind of things that will all come out.
I mean,
I talked to
ultimately,
Dallin
we
about
haven't-
this earlier before the meeting about the term and stuff.
I was going to say, we haven't got through hammering out lease terms at all. So
Right. Dave Staley again. I think that I know in other things that I've done in the agricultural world, we've done a fairly long-term lease with the first right to lease again, those type of things. I would see it probably going there without the city all of a sudden jacking up the lease real high. I think we'd have to have some agreement that it stays within a reasonable movement of lease. So that would be kind of what I would see.
What time period though?
I think we'd have to go with 20 years to begin with, but then with the right to renew without objection, as long as there was not some big thing that we were breaking terms of the agreement or something like that, either side.
Yeah.
So, and while I'm here, I might also mention that I think that the same attention should be given to the public notice as has been given to the dog pound and the ball fields, those kind of projects that have been done already.
Yeah.
So I don't think that we need to vet that any harder than that necessarily, but I think we could use that as a model for the way that this is vetted publicly, and might just leave that as a comment.
Yeah.
Carter Wilkie again. My only last question as well. On that bid, $1,045,000 was for the ice equipment. Now, obviously, I know some of that equipment is a permanent structure is permanent to the building, but does that also include some of the like the Zamboni and those types of things, or is that included in the $1,045,000? And then the question with that is, do those pieces of equipment, do they belong to the city as well, or do they become property of Glacier?
Go back to that page.
Yes. Dallin Staley again.
Thanks, Donald.
Very good.
And maybe I'll get there.
You guys are so much better at this than Tom.
I've been trained. Yeah, so the $1,045,000, that's basically all the permanent stuff. So the ice rink floor, the chiller, the dasher boards, all the stuff that's included in the building. So yes, that would be donated to the city as well. You can't have an ice rink without that stuff. So I guess, yes, the answer is yes.
Well, and I guess, and I know where this is wish, and who knows what, but let's say that you receive significant contributions from several donors, and some of them that we've even spoken about. But if the fundraising and cost things like that go as well, is there the opportunity? I'm not saying it'll happen, but the opportunity to say, you know what, we've gotten more gifts come in than we anticipated, so our personal share and your personal share can be reduced by $50,000 because we got a $2 million gift from XYZ.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
that's all the kind of stuff that'll have to be worked out in the lease agreement once we get to that point.
Yeah, I think we could leave that open to, if there's more money in the bank than we needed to spend when we're ready to move in, that some of that could be refunded. That could be refunded. That could be open, I
or
think.
held in some fund or something.
Yeah.
I thought Mr. Staley's point on I would not want to see this go to a ballot initiative. I think it would delay this project way too much. And I think it was a good point that we haven't gone to a ballot initiative to spend $1.5 million on a dog kennel and an animal shelter or the ball fields or anything else. We've just done it through the normal course of business and made that decision as elected officials.
Yeah. I guess Dallin Staley again, just as a reminder that the whole initiative to do this has kind of sprung out of a sense of urgency to be able to continue to operate and provide a level of service that we feel like we're not able to provide just because of the usage on the current small facility. It's fairly outgrown. So our goal is to still be able to put together the plans, have them approved, and be able to start construction pretty early next year. So yeah, to delay it clear until November or something would put a pretty...
Yeah, but I think we do need to make sure there's adequate time to at least have the appropriate notification and public hearing and advertise it so people can speak to it.
Yeah,
it'd be the same as any other project we've done.
Yeah,
Well, this is not the same. It is a different project. It's public-private partnership. They're operating, they're bringing the revenue. These others have been public facilities. So we can't completely say apples to apples. It's a little bit apples to oranges, but I mean, I get the point and whatnot, but I'm not agreeing it's exactly the same.
Well, it's not exactly the same because nobody came to pay half the animal shelter. It's a lot different.
It
So
is.
I think it's
in
great.
a lot of different ways. That's why I'm saying we just can't say, well, we did this, so we do this.
But it will be a
Because
public
there are-
facility because it'll be given to us when
Right.
it's done.
But I guess
Arguing that.
my question would be, Tyler, based on what you shared with us a while ago, if we were to have this come before us again at our next work meeting, not that we would act on it next week, but we would another work meeting, so there could be a public hearing on it, and then we could act on it the following week. I don't know what that
Yes.
timeline does.
So the way the schedule works, the next work meeting would be September 4th. So I would need to give 10 days notice prior to that date.
Uh-huh.
And then the action meeting would fall on the 18th because there's no city council on September 11th.
Uh, so in that time frame, the 18th of September, it's about what, 3.5 weeks from now or something like that. Would that work for your time frame?
Dallin Staley. Yeah. That seems like the best we can do. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of the same
quickest.
conversations
But I think we just have a regular public
that we've
hearing,
had
not
with
do it any
Tyler.
other
So
Yep.
that's what we've been hoping for and planning on, I guess. So
Okay.
The council would need to decide if they would want to do this through bonding or through capital improvement or through other, because that also
A combination of, or
changes some of the requirements if there are different funding levels or how you want to fund it.
Well, that's what I don't know if Jason would want to work any of those options up. I've had a lot of question about whether this would affect us being able to do the gym in 2 years, if we can still move forward with that, those types of things. So I don't know if it's really an option to spend all of that capital fund or if we should bond. I don't know if you want to give us some options of how we, could look at that in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, so depending on the amount of money that council wants to donate to Staley Recreation, we would come up with a few options of how that funding would take place. If I've been asked the question, do we have $2.85 million unencumbered on hand? Yes, we do. If we decide we want to bond, then we have to go legally through bond counsel. That'll take longer than a month, certainly. So
Since we have 2 weeks, can we have you work up the various alternatives and we can continue our discussion? I know that we won't vote on it next week at an action meeting. Can we continue discussion in anticipation of that September 4th meeting? And
Are there some
Is
things
that-
you would like the
Cedar City contracts with Zions Public Finance. A gentleman named Jonathan Ward does our financial advising, and he is very helpful when the city has questions related to how to finance projects. If you would like, I would call him and engage him and have him give us.
That would
the
be
options
helpful,
that
I
you're
think.
looking for.
Perfect.
I was gonna say,
And
is that a
is that
direction
okay to
that the-
kind of have the discussion over 2 weeks and then a third week on September 4th at a work meeting? And
Maybe some options like, bond half, take half out of the capital
Yeah.
improvement fund,
I would
bond for
just-
half, some of those options and what it would entail.
I would love to have a professional like
talk
that
to Jonathan and kind of get
work with Jason.
options?
Yep. Yeah,
That's
please.
that is a direction that we're getting.
Yeah,
from
and I
council.
think the direction should be, at least for the purpose of discussion, is looking at 2.85 million.
Yeah, for discussion.
And obviously, if we bond for part of that or all of it, we're gonna incur finances.
Sure.
And
That's why we have to
interest.
find all those
Yep.
things out.
That
Okay.
does set a different timetable, just so you know, if we go down the bonding path.
Well, let's just find out what that is.
So your timetable, Dallin, is still to try to start in March, right? Roughly.
yeah.
You don't have a March 1st at 8 a.m. start time.
No, we,
February 29th.
Goal
March
is
1st at 12:01 a.m. actually.
March.
Yeah, the goal is March.
Okay.
And I think, if kind of like Paul maybe mentioned, if half of it could come as kind of something that's quicker to commit to, and we can use that to springboard, some of the fundraising that we need to do on our side. And as a reasonably, secure thing that we're going to move forward, and we can get Mark rolling on the designs.
I should probably
and
say
plans.
this, not to cut everybody off, but we could put the money in escrow. Like, we can't just give a private company
No, I
$1 million
understand.
and hope they build a building. So I mean,
Oh,
that
I
will have to
understand
go in
that.
Oh, yeah.
escrow.
There's-
Sorry.
I think
Yeah,
Dallin
no,
understands it.
that kind of goes without saying.
But
I
banks
think.
will take letters.
You're going to have to submit pay requests, and you're going to have to, I mean, even if we pledge money, you're going to have to submit contractor pay requests. And we're going to have to document everything. And
Okay. Yeah.
all of that
that's-
stuff we're going to work out in a lease agreement.
Yeah, that's understandable. So I mean, I guess
So it's not
something's-
like we're going to give you a big check and say, here you go.
Yeah,
knock yourself out tonight.
that would be great. That'd be fun. I've never got a big check before, but
No, you're thinking of it.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
gonna big check.
Oh yeah. That's one of the payments should come in a big check, I think.
Try a novelty check for
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
A novelty check that can't be cashed.
Yeah. So yeah, something that we could say is committed, I guess, is all, so that we can get things rolling, get plans rolling, get other funding sources committing to it, based on the city's commitment, that kind of stuff, I guess is.
I have a question, Dallin, maybe for you or for Mark. I'm not sure. On the new parking lot that's being proposed here, do we have just a rough idea? Is that 72 more parking stalls? Is it 101 parking stalls? What are we talking? Sorry.
Back to the architect.
I just want to have an idea.
Mark Wilson, architect. To tell you the truth, I didn't count them.
Okay.
But we are finishing. Let me go back to that site plan. So you do need to keep in mind that all of this was master planned at the beginning when the Aquatic Center was built, with this drive going out and everything else. So this project will actually be a benefit to you in finishing all of this that you would have had to commit funds to do anyway. So you can look at it that way too. But all of these parking spaces are new. They're new along here. I think the parking lot comes out to about this point now. So we're picking up a few new spaces.
50-ish.
Yeah, that's
I
kind of
just
what
quickly counted.
That's kind of what I thought, but I wasn't sure.
Off the plat.
But that parking is, obviously going to serve the whole campus of facilities.
Sure. Thank you.
So involving the bank and involving Jason, I think, is key to what happens in the next 2 weeks. So we know the financing alternative. Is that okay?
And those concerns you brought up about, because I think the public needs to know, the relationship that we have here, like we said, so they don't feel like we're just giving money to a private business. I think that, that they need to understand, how this is going forth and how the city is going to have the ownership in it and some of these other things, because that's one of the concerns I know that pops up. It's a great partnership, and yeah, super. So I don't know in the education process for the public that, of course, the hearing times may give them an opportunity to do that so they can understand exactly what we're doing going forward.
And if we bond, no matter what financing way we do this, there will be public hearing.
Right.
Yeah. Sure. Oh yeah.
Like a formal,
Yeah.
not this kind, but formal public hearing.
Exactly.
Yes.
Can I make just one more comment?
You do have to say your name
I think one of the, Dave Staley, sorry. I'm not very trained, but one of the things that I think helped to mitigate the public perception of this was the idea that the city would contribute a higher amount up front and not have that year-to-year commitment, which always seemed to be quite a sticking point with both staff and some of the council, and probably us too. I think the clean break is a lot better thing. And also it can be approached in the education process, however that is done, that in essence, you have a private, a private entity that is bringing something to the table to give to the city, honestly, more than the other way around, because it becomes the city's facility. I think that helps to to calm any concerns that the city is giving money to someone else. It is to a cause, absolutely. But there's no individual that will ever profit by that. And so basically what we're proposing is that we're helping to build something that brings more diversity to the city as far as recreational offerings by private donations coming to the table. And I think it should be fairly palatable, I would think, if the money is there publicly to do that part. We're certainly not saying that's just an easy thing to do. It's not. 2.8 million is a lot of money still. But I think that looking at it from that angle is probably something that we should do. The question then becomes, in the public eye, do we want this facility or not, with this private donation coming to the table from the private side, the half of it? So I'm not saying that we're trying to make us look good, but I'm just saying that is in essence what is coming to the table to bring an offering to the city. So because there is no individual that will benefit otherwise from it.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it. I'm just
I appreciated
I'm
that
playing
comment.
Joe
though.
Public.
Yeah, you have to
has
play
no
that
idea
devil's advocate side a
what
little
we're
bit.
doing here. Yeah.
But you
So,
kind of see
but
where
I
I'm coming
I
from
just
there.
said we need to, keep the,
Right.
so we don't have a bunch of misconceptions.
Right.
Because I've
I agree with
had
that
plenty of
too.
discussions with you guys.
I do think that
I appreciate
changing the way that donation happens and we getting rid of that annual thing is really a positive thing. We like that idea when staff recommended that. Yeah. We really like that.
Carter Wilkie, one other question / thought that I'm just sitting here having, and that's, and it goes back to where the money comes from, whether it comes out of the capital fund or whether it comes from a bond. It's taken the city quite a few years to build up the reserve that they have, which I think obviously is great that we have it. And so I can't help but question what other things get put on hold, what other things then have to get bonded if we do it out of the capital fund. I mean, as I come to every council meeting and we see, and, even last night, the planning commission was looking at a new subdivision out on South Mountain of another 140 something homes. As South Mountain and all that area continues to grow, there's been talk obviously of a new fire station and the cost that comes with those sorts of things. Does that now, are those types of things being put into play as well? Because, fire station costs more than that. Fire station costs $3 million to build, new fire trucks. You're millions of dollars. And so the question is then, do we have to bond for a fire station because we gave money for a rink or, and all those types of things? So are there certain projects that will get put on hold? Where does the gym fall into all this? Does this push the gym out a few more years? And I know it's kind of a rhetorical question. There's not really a hard set answer to that, but it's thought processes that at least are going through my mind at this point. And so I don't know if anybody has an answer to that.
They're all
but-
the same thoughts we've had.
Well, and Carter, that on the fire station issue, that came up in the discussion with the residential development overlay. And we don't build fire stations before the need. So
No, and I would agree with
the
that.
homes would come first and then a fire station would follow.
And I don't know how close we are to
and
needing
that
one
may be
more out
20
there.
years. That may be, who knows?
Well, and I'm not necessarily talking to just that subdivision. You had the Canyon subdivision that's going in right now. You have another property. I can't remember the name. I know the gentleman, he was here last night, who has a subdivision going in right now. You have Talon Point that is finishing off phases 3 and 4. And then you have the new subdivision that last night got approved for, I don't know if it got a positive recommendation. Did it get a positive recommendation? Last night it did. Of another.
Not yet.
Oh, there wasn't?
No, there's no.
Oh, public hearing. Okay. So again, 100 and, oh, that's right. Cause it has to go back before so, another 140 there. So,
right.
Those developers are putting in streets, they're putting in pads, those homes are coming. So I don't know.
And that increases our tax base and those
course.
things pay for those things as well.
So I just don't know how much longer till we do need something else out there. So that's all. Well, but impact fees don't cover fire stations. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can pay for
Do they?
station.
It goes towards that? Okay. So,
Yeah. Trucks over $500,000 and stations, police stations too.
Is there any other thoughts related to financing? No? Okay, this will go on the action agenda. Okay, with that, we're going to move on to our staff portion. Consider bids for stalls at Cross Hollow Arena. You're still here.
Unfortunately.
Well, welcome on up.
Somebody wake up Larry. I think that was all very positive discussion. It was good. Discussion. A lot of things to do.
Larry Olds, Cross Hollow Arena Manager. We've got $50,000 from the restaurant tax. The city matched at $50,000. You guys all got your packets. I don't have mine with me. I'm going to need to look at one.
Here, take this.
Now, Larry, this is
This is an
a tablet computer.
It works.
Go Larry.
That's why I wanted to introduce the iPad to you.
If you need Ken to come over and give you an assist.
I might have to.
Don't break it.
So where do I find it?
Just go. That's it right there. I pulled it up for you.
Oh, okay. The one we're looking at is number one. We're going to get 50 stalls out of that one, and it's actually oh wait, these are the three competitive bids. Okay, Noble Panels is giving it to us for wholesale. The other bids I got will be a retail price of them. So we're saving $12,000 over one and $15,000 over the other one. And we're going to get 50 stalls. Just for a little information, we've got the high school rodeo coming up in 3 weeks. We started taking reservations for stalls at noon Monday, and I'm done this morning. They're filled 160 stalls. Wow. So IFA's loaned me the panels. We would have only had 100 panels or 100 stalls if it weren't for IFA. We got 60 from them. They're going to pay for themselves, and it's going to be a good addition to the facility, but it's still not near enough.
Okay.
So we're going to need some down the line. So just give me the money and I'll order them tomorrow. How's that sound?
There's
Sounds
a man
good.
of action. Right
So the funding's already been approved. This is just to approve the vendor on the contract.
Move it
Gotta wait
to-
till next week.
Yeah.
Well, we
No. Let's do it tonight.
Gotta wait till next week.
Gotta wait till next week.
Yeah, you gotta wait till next week.
Okay, I guess I
we
can live
agree
with
with
that.
your assessment.
Pardon?
And we agree with your assessment and we'll vote on it next week.
Okay.
Get this one on consent.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a 6-week lead on these things, so I'll call the guy tomorrow. I hope he'll stand by these bids. I'm just laying it out. You better act quick.
Larry, what we
You're
don't
all
know
right.
won't hurt you.
Yeah, go do.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's easier to get forgiveness.
Larry, you're one of my favorite things.
The old sledgehammer approach.
Did you get all that?
Okay, item
So
number
fun.
4, consider bids for playground equipment at Bicentennial Park.
Wade
You have to talk.
Wade stopped by my house the other day in his truck, and I looked in, and it took me a minute to decide it was Wade.
Beer? You have to top Larry, so good luck.
Not going to happen. Wade Oren, Parks Division Head. So what you have before you are 3 proposals that we received from 3 state bid contractors that are on the state bid for playground equipment. They were all given the same scope of what we were looking for as far as what we thought will be the easiest to maintain, what seems to hold up the longest as far as wear and tear. They came back with 3 different, each group came back with 3 different renderings. Out of those 3 renderings, I chose one from each 3 that's been presented to you. We'll look at it a little farther, and we're hoping to try to get a little bit of public input.
I was intrigued by that. How will the kids get?
Yeah, I think that's important to find out what kids want to play
So
on.
one idea that's been kicked around is that we would probably, after this portion, whittle it down to the 2 least or the best priced ones, and then place them up at the Aquatic Center with a picture of them and have the kids do some kind of vote. They'd probably get a token or something from the front desk, and they can go over there and put it in a bin or something to that that scenario.
Well, I know you selected the ones that you showed us in the packets, but there is a difference in them. Is there one that is more preferred, not cost-wise, but just in terms of the amenities that go with the playground equipment?
No, not really. They were all given the direction of saying we want to be able to have children from the age of 2 to 12 be able to play on these structures. We wanted some kind of rail glide. It's like a zip line, but on an I-beam. Much less maintenance. Very popular. They were all given the same scope and spec, so they all met those things. As far as the daily maintenance that will happen at these ones, it will be much less than some of our other ones that have more. So that's one of the reasons we didn't include belt swings in them. Belt swings, liability-wise, we have more accidents on swings than anything else on playground equipment, and they take the most daily maintenance. So we just included what you'd see in there as tot swings. It's for little kids, 2 to 4, and then what they call a parent-child swing, where the parent and the child face each other and they swing. We've actually we placed one up at West Canyon when we replaced those swings, and we got a lot of feedback asking for more of those.
Oh, positive feedback then.
Positive, very positive feedback saying we would like more of these. So we've tried to add those in there as well.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Oh, go ahead.
How do your kids feel about these?
I tried to keep them out of it, but the quick ones I did show, they were pretty excited. They're excited to see a new playground. I mean, that's all it is.
Me too.
So we've talked about this before with the temperatures on playground equipment.
Yes.
Are these colors like the one that's blue and green?
So the colors are anything we want. So those are just the renderings that they gave us. When we go back and actually order the equipment, we can change those colors. Those are not set in stone by any means. Those are just ones that they put together.
Like bright orange, that'd be cool. Blue.
I know you want bright orange and blue, so I figured you'd probably like that one.
Oh boy. Dear me.
More than anything, for the temperature of the playground is actually how you position them according to where the sun hits them. So for slide surface and things like that, you want them facing more of the north and the east, not south and west, where they'll get more direct sun. So the actual positioning of the playground according to the sun actually has a bigger effect on the temperature of the equipment as opposed to what color it is. Great. All right. Any other questions?
There's some trees over there, isn't there?
There is
there's some
not
enough,
not a ton. They're actually not far from that is there's actually a number of cottonwoods that are on the outfield side, the outfield of field 3. So they do create some shade, but they're not quite close enough. We can always add more.
Your arbor trees look good out there. I looked at them the other day.
Thank you.
So have you gotten stuff from Garrett before?
Not since yes, we've got the shade structures from Garrett. That's been a fiasco with the manufacturer moving facilities right when we ordered. So that one's been hard, but I've dealt with Garrett before as far as replacement parts and coming in, and he's been great. He's been great to work with. They actually all have. They've all been really good.
I just wasn't familiar with them. We buy a lot from Big T up in our subdivision, but they're the cheapest usually in their quotes. But I was kind of surprised they weren't on this one. But anyway.
So Wade, are you looking for us to make a selection? Or are you going to recommend?
We're just informing you and letting you guys know what there is. The money's already been allocated through the RAP tax money. So these are just we're just letting you know,
Okay.
these are the ones
I didn't know if you
at.
were wanting us to.
Is that correct? I mean,
So let's not let's not move it forward for a vote. We'll move it up to the Aquatic Center where folks can have some input. And then once that's all done, we'll bring it back to have the council award the bid formally.
Okay. And
that's perfectly
That'd be
fine.
good.
The council has to award the
Okay.
actual vendor bid.
Okay.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
this will be tabled until we have the kid input.
Excellent.
Hey, thanks
Thank
for all
you.
your work on it. Looks good.
Thanks.
All right. Item number 5, consider a resolution amending the city's consolidated fee schedule. Oh, so you want to go first, Nick, or Chief?
Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Nick Holt, Airport Manager. I'm here tonight to present a change to the fee schedule for airport advertisement. Currently, the airport doesn't have any advertisement fees. This would allow the public to come in and pay the airport and the city to advertise inside our terminal. When discussing this with the airport board and myself, we feel strong that the advertisement, we don't want our terminal completely full of advertisement. So we would want to keep that towards, the majority of it would be down in the baggage claim area. This is the standard for most airports. We've also looked at some areas up by the ticketing counters. We're presenting two options. First option would be a wall display. This would be a 3x5, either canvas or plastic poly type material that would be printed. And
are these wall displays attached, or are they on freestanding? Or
so they would hang off like a curtain rod.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you've been into St. George's Airport. We want to do something.
Oh yeah,
similar,
I've been there, but ours is much better
to those. So, yeah. Thank you. So yeah, we want to do something similar to that. They're going to be about, based on the space that we have, they're going to be about half the size. So the cost is going to be reduced from what they're paying down there. But
So they'll be consistent size, shape.
yeah, a
that
3x5,
kind of thing. Okay, all right.
3 foot wide by 5 foot tall.
Are these
is what
mostly lodging vendors and people like that that are interested? Hotels?
So
and those
yeah,
kind of things?
I've got two people that have contacted me. One is out of a business out of California that advertises at several different airports. The other one is a local company, and it is a motel here locally.
Yeah, I think electronic messaging is also a good source.
Yep, and that would be the second option that I'd like to. I'm seeking approval for on the fee schedule would be a 30-second advertisement board to where it rotates through several different advertisements. My thought is that we would get both of these fees approved. Initially, we'd probably start off with just the wall displays to be able to generate the money to be able to afford the boards.
So Nick, if the council approves these fees, we give you an assignment to work with Tyler to get a written policy in place for the airport as far as what kind of advertisement you want and what you don't want. And try to protect us as much as you can, because there's going to be a time where someone's going to want to advertise something
that we
and
may
as
not
a-
want to represent.
As a community and as a government entity, we're going to be squeamish about putting that up. We need some way to tell them no.
Okay, I'd be willing to work with legal on that.
Thank you.
Has this been run by your airport board? And
It
have
has,
they?
and
have
they had some of the same concerns, but they've supported. So the option one with the wall display, with their recommendation, I'm recommending $100 per month, and option two would be the electronic boards, and that would be $50 per month.
How much would those cost, the electronic boards?
It's a flat screen TV, so depending on what model of TV you get, and then it's on a little flash drive stick that plugs in.
It's not much.
And rotates. Yeah. Okay. Good. The tourism board has currently put a board inside it's not advertisement, but we'd use a similar.
But you could intersperse that if this were to. I mean, whatever you're running, you could intersperse these advertisements.
We could.
Yeah.
Yep.
It'd be nice to see something besides all the TSA stuff.
Yeah.
But not cluttered.
I agree. Well, this would eliminate some of our clutter. Right now, we've got stanchions and we want to move. Some airports charge for brochures. The airport board's advised against that. So I
don't think we're ready for that yet.
I don't think so either. I think that needs to be in a specific place, though, have its own place, so it's not cluttered. And so we're looking at that as well, where to put that.
I was just in the Vegas airport and it's trashy. So we need to avoid trashy with just junk everywhere.
I would agree.
So just quick question, Nick. I want to make sure my resolution's accurate for the wall display, I have 3.5 feet by 5 feet. Should it be 3 by 5 or 3.5?
I misspoke. It is 3.5 feet.
Okay.
5 feet wide.
42 by 60.
Like at the drive-in.
Can I ask you a question? Whatever happened with the one display that was going to be in baggage area?
So I talked with Steve about that, and he's fine with the advertisement. We've saved for the city two spaces down my hallway, the south hallway. We're working on coming up with some pictures to represent the city, and that was your recommendation.
The baggage
as
one
well.
with it was like the history of aviation type thing.
Yeah, the
We-
story of Maury Graham.
Are we totally going away from that?
We are moving away from that with this recommendation. So if they want to incorporate that in the two areas that you've reserved for the city, then I would be open to look at that. Our terminal's small, and so if we're gonna be able to provide advertisement, that's the best place for it.
Okay. I just know that I'd come before the council
Yeah,
previously.
and
and
I
so-
think the issue there became it was a fundraising issue. They hadn't raised enough money. They only raised about 2,000 and they needed about 12. I think it was something like that. And Steve, I guess, is on top
So I
of that.
wanted to
but-
make sure that we weren't offending Steve, and I have had a conversation with him. He reassured me that he wasn't offended if we moved in this direction.
Okay. Are there any other comments, questions from council related to this? Okay. Chief, you're next.
Is this
think we're
moving
good.
to what?
This we'll have, this will all be on an action, but
Hmm.
there's more than just Nick.
Oh,
You have more fees.
yeah, more fees.
Good evening. Darren Adams with the Police Department. As you know, we provide the service of fingerprinting for any and all needs. We've done that for a number of years, and the price has risen somewhat slowly over the years. So we used to charge, I think, $250. We've charged $5 for many, many years. And we're just asking to increase that to 10 to be congruent with everybody else around us. We're the only ones that are, I guess we're the cheapest game in town, for lack of a better term. And because of that, we get inundated, which causes our volunteers to go over the allotted time, and then people get frustrated. And so we just feel like if we can be congruent with everybody else, we can spread that around.
Makes sense.
So,
Yeah,
okay. Thank you.
we're good.
Those the two. There's not any others. Okay. So this will go on action.
Nick, heard you on the radio this morning. Sounded good.
Oh, first time on the radio. I was a little nervous, but thank you.
Good job.
Did great.
All right. Our next one, public hearing to consider revisions to the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget. This is like 2 times in one meeting you get to talk.
Popular. Good evening, council. Jason Norris, Finance. So we had a few issues, which I'll discuss, come up, and we've decided to do a budget revision pretty early in our new fiscal year. Typically, we wait until about December after we've completed our audit and we know what our remaining balances on existing capital projects are, and we try to do all those items at that time. I've given you a summary of all the revisions. They always look confusing because they have funds going in and out of several places, but we'll walk through each of those. Other than the wrap tax requests on here or changes, everything is brand new money, brand new item. Many of these we've talked about in the past, but these would be brand new allocations, other than wrap tax, which is just adjusting based on prior meetings. So I've represented those in this revision. So stop me at any time and we have staff here. We can talk more in depth on these issues, or I'll answer any of those questions. So starting from the top, you'll see the transfer from the Capital Improvement Fund and the wrap tax fund. That's just showing you the changes within the budget from those transfers, but I'll discuss the items. The first one is the police department has, based on recent discussions we've had, they've determined that they would like to purchase 4 radar digital speed signs that are portable that they can move to different areas of the city. It felt like that we've had several citizens with concerns over speeds. These basically flash if you're going 30 or 35, they'll show that up, and those are traffic control to slow traffic. They don't actually give you a ticket, but these can be moved throughout the city. Would you like to discuss that further with
4 of those are.
Chief, how many do we currently have?
Sure.
You can yell, but then I'll make you walk up here anyway. So
Darren Adams with the police department. We have one. We have a trailer that we move around. We have been looking at these for quite some time, knowing the need was there. And we actually, and Kit knows this, but we actually spoke with UDOT months ago about partnering with them to have one at the mouth of the canyon, because that's an issue. And then on North Main Street from Love's, as you make that turn, a lot of high school kids. And they wanted to partner with us, but our chunk of that was about 10,000. That was half of what they would. And we thought, boy, that's expensive. So we can buy 4 for this, just over 12,000 that come with bands. We can move those from pole to pole, depending on the neighborhood. It gathers data for us. So it will not only give the motorist a true reflection of their speed, but it'll gather information. And then that goes to a cloud, and that's free for a year. We won't continue to pay that. We feel like we can go out and gather that on a thumb drive after that, but that's included. And then we can, if a citizen comes in with concern, we can show them either their perceptions are valid or they are not, and then take appropriate enforcement action.
So the information it gathers, it doesn't gather license plates or anything
No,
like that. It
just
says
speed.
Car
Just speed.
speeding at X.
Correct. Yes.
It doesn't even tell you what kind of car.
No, there's no camera.
No camera.
No. Yep.
Can I bring something up that's related but not totally? I was sitting at the stop sign on Cove Drive yesterday, Culver Meadow.
56. Oh, Meadow. Okay.
Culver
Yeah.
Meadow. And I was sitting there, and 2 people blew through that stop sign. One was a big commercial truck, and he noticed about 3/4 way through, slammed on his brakes. But have we ever talked about maybe some
We have.
flashing on
We
those?
talked about a flasher. It's been a while ago.
I've seen a lot of people, and I don't think it's intentional. I think that's
No, I
so
think
busy.
you're
I think
right.
people just run it. They don't notice the stop sign. And I think maybe it may be
I
a
would
little
agree.
annoying to the residents, but I think somebody's going to get hurt.
Yeah, I would agree.
I'm sorry I just thought of that.
Oh, that's a valid point.
So, so the 25,000 original in there is just other equipment. This 12,000 is just specifically for these items.
Just for those signs.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Again, this is a little unconventional. It's only because we opened the budget that we're allowing staff to present these requests. So I know it's just a little out of character, but that's why we're doing it.
Good to see you out of character.
If we want to seriously consider doing a flashing sign, do you want staff to get a cost and present that as part of this revision in
are those
next week, or
huge
how serious are we?
cost?
I think the ones I've seen that, like when I was driving to Penguich today, they had the little solar panel with the LED. I'll bet they don't cost very much. I bet it'd be interesting to
Get
know.
the figures. Yeah.
Like the deer crossing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very, very
Get the
simple.
figures.
Okay, so we'll have you follow up on that. We may add that to this revision next week.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right. So, Kit, you'll have to help me with this one, but it's my understanding that the state will be putting in a street light on 56 and Cove Drive. Is that correct,
Yeah,
Mr.
signal
Wareham?
light.
Signal light. The state pays for that because it's a state road. For our public safety, we have sensors on every street light that when our vehicles are on an emergency, they'll change the light. So we have to pay for what's called Opticom. We have to purchase that. We've actually already done that this last week. However, we purchased that out of the street budget. It's about $6,000. We'd just like to restore that funding back to streets so they can do regular things they had planned on doing. So that's that $6,000 request for streets. Okay, the next one is also in the street department. It's $550,000. So we sold property to the VA group last fiscal year for a cemetery. We're going to repurpose those dollars from the sale of the land, and we are going to put in a paved road up to the cemetery site. It's $550,000. It's a very big purchase, but it does have a source behind it. And
so our staff did a lot of the preliminary earthwork. It included a lot of removal of lava rock in that area. We've had contractors in there doing sewer, water, storm drain.
Yeah, all
Right.
the utilities.
And the last thing we have
They
to
just
do
finished
is,
up with that.
is finish grade, curb gutter sidewalk, and asphalt, and that's what's included in this proposed budget.
That's in there. Yep.
okay. All right. The next change, and we're just going over it because it's a change, the $376,000 represents the allocation from this recent RAP tax process. So I'm just formalizing that in the department's budget. So that's primarily the Bicentennial Park parking lot and playground, which we just discussed, as well as the library. There's $6,000 that was allocated also through the RAP tax project or process. Sorry, that project is. As you'll recall, we had an original budget in RAP tax of $600,000, but we're drawing some additional funding out of the fund balances. So that's reflected in these numbers also. The next item is the Aquatic Center. So this is actually why we are doing this budget revision right now. Mr. Bittman, would you like to explain the?
No, but Chris is here.
Chris is here.
Say-
I could explain it.
We'll
I'd probably
let-
mess it up.
We saw pictures, but
Yeah, we saw some pictures.
Chris Hudson, Aquatic Center Manager. So the pictures were sent to you as a council. I do have packets for anyone else that would like to see them of the pictures that were sent to the council. I'll get one.
Let's have a non-Watts one.
Yes, I will give one to her. And then we have a slideshow if you want to pull that up, Kit. It's our liner up at the Aquatic Center in the vinyl liner that's in the pools has started to degrade. We have done some mitigation work that was done at the expense of Murtha. Murtha is the manufacturer of the vinyl. They are not an installer. They're not the contractor that built the pools. They just build the materials that the contractor uses to build the pools. The CEM was the contractor originally. Some of those materials have failed. Some of the repair work has failed. Murtha did cover the cost to repair much of that. When they came in, though, they said, "Hey, your vinyl's not holding up, and you're just going to keep kicking this can down the road." So we are recommending that we do a full replacement of all the vinyl in the big pool, and then some replacement of some other areas, which we'll show here in just a minute.
Chris, did this just get discovered? Because didn't we empty the pools like around Memorial Day completely?
We did. It wasn't just discovered then. It's been a slow process of little things that we've discovered over time. But Murtha they're a European company, so they're representatives in Florida. When they came to do a repair initially on some material that had failed, which again they covered the cost for, that repair then failed. They came in and covered the cost to fix that repair that they repaired. And that was when they looked and said, "Hey, it's not holding up." And again, if we can get that slideshow up in just a second, that was the very first image that you saw. You saw the dark blue and the light blue, which we'll show here.
Didn't we go with the more expensive pools? Weren't these supposed to be like a lifetime type deal?
So Murtha, when I contacted them about warranties, Murtha said that in the history of Murtha, the 60 years they've been working, they've never offered a lifetime warranty on their materials. They're not sure where we heard that. Again, Murtha just supplies materials to contractors. So the contractor was CEM. They were the ones doing all of the bidding. I'm assuming I was not here, so I don't know.
Is Murtha the
all
only
of that.
lining company there is in the world?
No, but they are the ones that created the pool structure that we have. To just as basic background as we can get, when you build a pool, there's several different ways to do it. Murtha's method is to use stainless steel walls that are backfilled with a vinyl that meets it. That's very different from doing a plaster pool, or very different than doing any other type of vinyl. So if you were to go with a different product, you couldn't just replace the Murtha liner with a different liner. It doesn't work quite like that because of the way their structure is.
Those
if that
lucky people.
makes sense.
So the question I had when you sent these, I was like,
Yeah.
I was blown away because I was on the tail end of the Aquatic Center, but Murtha stood there and told us that they've had all their pools in Europe for over 40 years with no maintenance.
Yeah.
And
So
that was a big selling point.
right. I was not here, so I don't know if that was Murtha or CEM. Do you recall? Was it Murtha?
It was Murtha we went with, I think. And so my question was, and Paul was here then, but I mean, looking as far as their contract, I'm surprised that we come up having to pay all these installation costs for their defective product, so to speak. That's my question.
You're talking Paul Bittman, right?
So
Paul Bittman.
Yeah. So I will.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, Ron, what I'll do is I'll go through the
go ahead.
photos and then
I
try
just
to
wanted
explain what Ken and myself have done to try to go through this. So as you can see here, the piece on the left is a brand new piece of Murtha liner. They just barely put that in again, just prior to the summer. The piece on the right is the material that was originally installed. You can see the difference in tone. They're the exact same material, exact same generation of vinyl, but the one has just degraded significantly. And then, is this clicker going to work? We'll see. Come on. Maybe do I have the wrong one? Oh, there we go. Okay. This is a tear in the liner that you can see here. One of the things to note here, the length is not as important as if you notice what's happening here. The material has not only torn, but it's also become brittle and it's not repairable. So what they would actually have to do is excise a large section and put a new piece in. And that would have to happen every single time we have a tear now because, again, the material has begun to fail in certain areas. This right here is one of those stainless steel sidewall panels. This is a step. You can see there was a tiny hole and it's now filled that area with water.
How did the tear get there?
Kids can be, it's where they're climbing in and out of the pool. So it could be any number of things that could cause it. But just
won't that keep happening?
Yes. I mean, it just, in theory, it can just keep happening. The nice thing about the way that they do their sidewalls is the stainless steel is what is watertight. The vinyl on the outside of that stainless steel is mainly just for show. So again, we're not going to see any structural issues with water getting behind the steel because of the way they seal it. Yeah, the steel's waterproofed, not the vinyl on top of the steel, if that makes sense.
How was that done? Is the steel welded?
I'm not 100% certain. I haven't seen their manufacturing process. In everything that I've seen, what it looks like is they put the steel together, they bolt them down from the back, and then there's a backer that seals the seams together. And I don't know if there's a weld there. I'm not sure. But I do know that they do anchor them in with an angle bracket behind each steel piece, and then they backfill that with some aggregate and other materials. This right here is those targets on the walls that the lap swimmers flip and they kick off of. This material is that dark material, but this is how it started to fail, and this is why we initially even started getting Murtha involved in the replacement process. So this again is that wall marker. This is in the lap pool. So again, not the big pool that has seen warmer temperatures, different chlorine levels. We're seeing the same degradation. You can see the white color of the vinyl. You can see the tears in that black material. It's begun to fail. And then this is like right below. Paul Bittman comes and swims and steps on that every so often. So
You're the one doing it.
yeah, he's the one doing it. That's his
footprint right there.
This is an example of a side panel that actually has completely failed. They just excised the vinyl off of it. Again, the steel is still watertight, but there is that vinyl there. what they do for this is they actually will cut it off, and they have a liquid vinyl they'll do over the top of that to match and make it look.
ice skates in the pool.
No, I don't think so.
Outside.
he leaves them on the rubber mats. And then this is in the lap pool. I just wanted to bring this up again, that those targets are degrading. You can actually see tears right there. And then there's a close up of a tear right across here. What concerns me specifically about those is you get someone doing a flip turn. If they get a foot caught or a toe caught and they push off of that, they're likely to hurt themselves. So this is actually starting to become an injury potential. So that's kind of where we are there. When we discussed with them, we said, hey, we have these issues. They came, like I said, so far they have been willing to pay for the smaller repairs that we've done. We're talking in the neighborhood of $5,000 to $6,000, $10,000. This particular one, they said, well, the vinyl's not holding up like we'd like. However, they said, we only offer warranty on the material. We don't offer warranty on labor because we don't install it. We're not an installer. They likened it to, if you have a concrete contractor come in, but he gets his concrete from Sunrock, you don't go to Sunrock when the concrete fails, you go to the contractor. And they said that's kind of the scenario here. Ken and myself went the rounds back and forth. Yeah, but if your fail is causing the labor, why are we having to foot the bill? And they said, well, you don't have to foot the bill. We can just keep coming and doing repairs, but the labor will still be on you because we don't have any sort of warranty. I checked with them and CEM. At the time of construction, a warranty was never issued. They will still honor what the warranty would have been at that time, and they did send that to us, but they said that they never actually issued CEM a warranty to give to us when the building was finalized and they handed over paperwork. We checked everywhere. We couldn't find a copy of a warranty that was issued to us. So in that warranty, again, it was not lifetime. I believe it was 15 years. Ken, does that sound right? It was a 15-year warranty. So what they are proposing is to come in, fix the floor in the lap pool, fix the flooring pieces in the outdoor pool that are degrading, and then to completely gut the entire leisure pool. They're going to be removing every piece of vinyl, even a majority of the gutter tiles, replacing all of that and doing that all for the price tag that we're looking at. In total, if you go through all of that, I don't know if I have all of that in the slideshow here. I think that's the last slide, if I remember correctly. Yeah, that's the last slide. So, but in the packets that were sent to you, there were those numbers that you could see, and it was broken down by what they were planning to do.
$132,000 is the price tag on this. If everyone in the audience is wondering.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell me.
That 132 is our cost for the labor. The Mertha cost, the total project is
248, I believe.
So Mertha's bringing all the supplies and equipment. They're contributing 28,000.
25,000 plus a little
to the labor, and the rest of the labor is on us.
So what kind of a guarantee do you have that we're not going to be here 8 years from now?
That's a good question. They as part of this, they did say that they would be issuing a brand new warranty on all the work done. So we would now be effectually extending the warranty that we currently have, because that one would have been up in 15 years. This new one will have a new, I believe, 10-year warranty as their current warranty at this time.
And then are they're painting the striping this time?
Yeah. So the black markers that failed like this right here, the new method they have is they use a PVC paint. It's basically got enough solvent that now it's liquid, and it actually adheres to the main liner. So there's no cuts in the main liner when they do it this time like they did the last time.
Yeah, and that was, we heard that we got the leftovers.
Mertha seemed to think that what happened was the contractor is big enough that they have stores of material in their warehouse. They ordered new material because that's what we did, but then they just took whatever they had in their warehouse, and some of it was like an old generation material that was installed. Again, I think that's why they felt confident paying for it originally on those stripes and just replacing it, because they realized it was that older material and their contractor did that. CEM is the sole contractor for the state of Utah for Murtha. We can't use
How long
anyone
is this going to take? How long are the pools going to be down?
So the lap pool, which is of great priority because the swim teams use it. They're trying to get up and then into the pool to start practicing. That one it'll be about a week. 5 working days is what they estimated. It is in those sheets if you would like to go back and look at it as well. But about 5 working days. They did say they're trying to get an extra contractor to come in to shorten that time so that the team can get in there.
I remember
sooner.
reading that.
And then the next, the outdoor pool would be about 4 working days. That one we're not so worried about because it closes in a couple weeks anyway. But then the leisure pool is the big one. They estimate 26 working days, which is effectively about 5 weeks worth of closure. But again, what we would be getting for $130,000 is a brand new Murtha pool, which is a significant decrease over building a brand new Murtha pool ourselves and paying, it effectively $240,000. So that's the benefit to doing this now. Also, we don't keep kicking the can down the road immediately. Again, you can see those tears and those things are just going to continue to happen. And if they're not repairable, eventually we're going to nickel and dime ourselves to the point. And if we push it down the road, Murtha might not be so amenable to
What do we risk losing in terms of finances for 5 weeks of having the leisure pool closed?
That's a tough one because when we close the pools, again, because we don't have anything else in the facility to offset the cost. We don't have currently gyms or, a large weight room. We do have a little bit of a weight room. And then of course our multi-purpose rooms. We actually might save a little bit of money because we're not incurring labor costs. So there's kind of a give and take, especially during this time of year, because we have to operate at a minimum level for lifeguarding. But when it's really, really slow during this part of the year, even our minimum level is still, it might be a little bit more than we would be generating at that point. Obviously summertime, we would be losing gobs of money. It would just be horrendous on us. But if we do it now, especially before the holiday season, kind of that Halloween through all the way through February, basically. If we can do it before that time or as close to before that time as we can, we would mitigate the losses. Exactly how much it's up in the air. So
I know this might be a very expensive proposition, but has there been given any thought to making it so that they can play water polo in the competition pool?
We not at this point. We haven't done that. I don't know about excavation. That would be kind of more your. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. I know that they would have to excavate that pool. And
while
I don't
you're
know
doing
if that
all
would.
this,
Yeah.
Is there stainless in that pool as well?
There is. Yeah. So they would have to not only dig down, but they would have to replace the whole side wall. I mean, there would be a significant amount of remodel that would have to happen to drop that. Yeah. We had talked about right there where our drains are in the big leisure pool area. We had talked about raising that up a little bit. It is rather steep for the little kids. And the little kids tend to get caught in the little current and that's there. And we go in the exact same spot for kids every time. We know exactly where we're going to make rescues because that's kind of where they go. And if we raised that by about 6 inches and made the slope not quite so significant, but again, mobilizing, getting an engineer in here, architect to do that, get the concrete put in, make sure pitches are good, make sure everything's, we raise drains and all that stuff. I just don't know if we could do it in the amount of time that we would need to do all of this repair. So, and obviously just doing the repair doesn't increase the risk that we have now. We stay exactly the same as we've been for the last 9 years. So. Any other questions for me? Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. So just for council's information, Tyler's spent quite a bit of time looking at the warranty and researching this back several years, as a lot of this predates several of us as staff. But yeah, when it's all said and done, we have basically $132,000 as our opportunity to make this repair. Otherwise, Tyler, do we have any other options?
No, the warranty really wasn't that great, and the fact is the warranty we're going to be getting doesn't cover labor in the future.
Anyway.
That's one thing that I suggested we try to negotiate and see if they'll. But I don't see us getting any traction.
We maybe get 10 years out of this deal, maybe. So every 10 years we might be looking at 150 grand.
We might be.
Might I remind everybody that we'll never
No,
be
you don't
having
need to remind us.
we'll never be having these discussions with an ice rink if we build it.
Yeah. So as we all know,
Parking lot was gonna be built anyway.
anything with water in it is going to have corrosion and other issues. So we plan and budget and set aside fund reserves, knowing that we own a pool and this type of maintenance is just part of being in that business. Okay. Steve, you want to come up, please?
Sorry.
All right. So since the budget's open, we want to re-present our request to complete the water system and irrigation at the golf course. So as council's aware, this is several years in the making that we've been working on our front 9 irrigation system out at the golf course. The 50 plus years ago, we decided we were going to get in the golf course business, and now those original pipes are quite degraded. And we have piece by piece been working through a master plan to re-irrigate the front 9, and then power and water lines and ponds and pumps. And now we've found out that the grant we had applied for several months ago, we were not awarded. So now we're down to ourselves to fund the completion of the golf course. So in our recent budget a few months ago, we had allocated 703,500 towards completing the water system. We've since then had Steve and Jared working with several folks in the industry to determine what it's actually going to cost to finish putting in all the main lines and sprinkler lines and everything else to complete the system. That number's $800,000. And we, as staff, would like to request those funds from the Capital Improvement Fund to complete the water system. Steve can give you some more details. We think there's a window of opportunity this fall to start some of that work in putting in the main lines. Our own staff will dig the ponds to hold water for the system, and then it'd probably be the spring that we're going to try to put in the sprinklers.
It's $1.5 million.
So
Yeah, I guess is there
it's a lot of money. So yes.
We budgeted 700, then 800,000 more. Is this the back? Is it the front 9, or is this the whole golf course?
No, this is
You
hole
still have to say your name.
Steve Carter
I think, Steve.
golf course. This is holes 1 through 9, number 10 in the driving range. So it's that portion of the golf course. That all that there when we originally came up with our phases, our original phases. The front 9 was the 9 that is in the most need of being redone. Everything out there is iron pipe. I brought in the piece a couple months ago, and that's just the state of what that is. When the design was made, putting in the driving range in number 10 just made sense because it was so close with the front. And so that was the design that we went with.
So we're looking at total cost of, because we didn't get the grant, we're looking at how much to
It's going to be
$1.5 million.
Yeah.
And then how much have we already spent on the irrigation system?
So the monies, we've spent the 233 that we came in for a couple weeks ago. And those parts are already up in Salt Lake, ready to come down. We've purchased the pump station, and it's going to be here shortly. And we also have money allocated for the pond construction through rat tax funds. So we were given RAP tax funds a year ago or 2 years ago.
And that'll do the whole pond project?
Yeah, we're looking at that, at covering the pond project and the pump station. So there's all this the rest of the amount, we feel confident with talking with the people that Jim Ruel, who's probably the foremost irrigation designer here in the state of Utah for golf courses. And we feel confident that the money that we're asking for is going to be enough to finish this side of the project. So it's not the entire golf course. There's three of the holes out there were put in 2003, so they're not that old. But the other side, the 12, 18, and
it's PVC, right? I mean, it'll last a long time.
yeah, it's manageable out there. The only thing really wrong out there is just head spacing, but we can get around that with some stuff. But the PVC will last for quite a while. This new stuff we're putting in, this HDPE pipe, this is an excellent material. Everything in the industry is saying that it's going to go for, 50 to 75 years before any kind of mainline pipe maintenance really needs to be done on it. Possibly even longer than that. It's just a great material. So
is there an opportunity to reapply for this grant next year?
Well, it's a water smart grant through the Department of the Interior. It's the same one the Conservancy District applied for on that project out west. They open them up every single year.
Okay.
They're very competitive. There
Sure.
was maybe a dozen awarded it throughout Utah, but the amount of applications
Was far out.
there was hundreds of applications.
Sure. Okay.
So we're at about 1.73 million for what we've done on the front nine so far.
if you include the pump station and the pond,
And that's because what part of that's RAP tax? How much?
we got, the pump station was paid out of RAP tax funds, and the pond construction and the liners and
Which
all that
was
stuff.
how much of that?
It was, I don't have my numbers with me. Yeah, it was
How much? 300?
Yeah,
Close to
300,
I think.
yeah, 30.
330. We can get you the exact number.
No, that's close. I'm just curious. That's close enough.
So total wise, that was the amount that we've been trying to get spent and figured out. I mean, this is something you guys know. We've been trying to figure out a way to get this done since I've been here 15 years. So this is to me, it's an excellent opportunity. We've talked about water savings costs, and the ability to save water for in the future. So
And this pretty much finishes it.
this will finish the phase. Yep.
The front nine, at
Yep.
least.
Yep.
And the other issue is spacing, but you can deal with that.
Yeah, we can. I mean, with all the new stuff that we're getting, the back nine now is going to water better anyway because the water source is closer to the golf course. The main lines are all the correct size, so we're going to be able to flow the water to the golf course where it needs to be, and get it out onto the grass without having to overwater to try to make up the difference for all of our dry spots. So it's to me, it's a great deal.
And then we've got a local vendor, Steve, right? That's going to do pipelines, main lines.
WL Plastics.
Yeah, we're trying to still work with them on a cost for pipe, and we're just waiting to hear back from them. We've got other bids from other organizations here locally as well in Cedar, and then a few from down in St. George. And so we have numbers on what that's going to cost. And that's really how we came up with that number. Is we took the amount for all the heads, all the parts, and just whatever we were going to need. We divided it by the number of heads. We got that number, and then we added about another half of that for the installation. And that was what our irrigation planner, Jim Ruel, said was a really good conservative number. It was a good number that he felt that we could do. So that's how we came to it.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Okay. This has been a big numerically a big revision request. And like I say, these are new dollars. I've already gone over the RAP tax, and then the capital improvement that just reflects the actual changes within the funds. So those are our requests from staff. If you have any more questions for us, or we'll let the public weigh in if they would like to.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, we will officially open the public hearing. If anyone would like to address council. All right, we will close the public hearing. Action. And with that, can we get a
motion to move out of this meeting into our special city council meeting for canvassing votes before we go into closed session?
Yes. Is there
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. After this, we're going to the other meeting first.
This will be interesting. This does. St. George's unveiled their e-scooters. Their e-scooters. Very interesting to see how they do the electronic
I was in
scooters.
Salt Lake yesterday. Those are
They just
all
unveiled them.
all over that place.
I know they just banned them in.
Well, that's true. Oh, did
Somebody
you say
died.
Salt Lake?
No,
Are you
Atlanta.
St. George?
St. George just
Is just getting them.
just unveiled them.
So they're behind the curve like other people are getting them.
So we'll see how it goes.
It's interesting. It's
Jason,
all
what was the total
around the
number
city
between
up
all
there
those?
in Salt Lake, and they just kind of trashy.
Of like new money?
Because people just come drop them on the sidewalk.
Um,
Down the Tempe area with someone else. They're all
well, we got to take the RAP tax back out. So you've got,
on and on the side.
Yeah, because the RAP tax isn't new.
1.3.
yeah,
Roughly.
568 and 800 and 132.
About $1.5 million,
4
give or take.
That's an animal show.
It's a minor expenditure at your household, I'm sure.
I'm glad you find yourself funny, Adam.
I just like that I make cards.
All right.
Support our fun run.
Okay, you can. Shh. Thank you. Okay, we will now move into our special city council meeting with the first item, canvas votes from August 13th, 2019 primary election.
Okay, so we've ended up with 32.88% voter turnout. And the
Better than it started out.
following numbers are the official results. Stephanie Flores, 353. Don Oswald, 1,034. Barry Evans Short, 598. Carissa Smith, who withdrew, had 172 votes. Danny Strand, 290. I need a water bottle. Tyler Melling, 1,880. Adam Hahn, 837. Terry W. Hartley, 1,769. Stephen Glenn, who also withdrew, 66. Brittany Perry, 623. TJ Penrod, 378. Chris Dolan, 530. And Craig E. Ison, 1,514. The top 6 will move on.
All right. Questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. Now, can we get a motion to?
Move to leave this special council meeting and move back into our city council work meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Move. Oh,
No,
I'm gonna wait.
you can't
Gotta
do
wait. I
anything
gotta
yet.
wait. I know. I'm
For
waiting. I'm waiting.
Our secretary.
Just want to get home so I can see Hogan's Heroes. No, I'm just kidding. That's Mr.
right.
That's
It is-
Mr. Staley.
It is after 8.
That's
8
Mr.
o'clock.
Staley.
And 8 o'clock is the witching hour for Hogan's Heroes.
So Dave made it home in time.
Yeah, he got home in time.
That was probably one of the funniest
Oh,
comments.
that was great stuff.
That was
He's
one of
such a-
my favorite
he's
things that has been
trustworthy
said.
I would trust him.
That says something. Yeah, that says something about his character that he's going to go home and watch Hogan.
I know it does. It does.
Right.
It does a
I
lot.
never even heard of that show, and I went home and I was like, I guess it's not to be.
Really?
All right. Now we're moving back into our city council work meeting with item number 7, a closed session for property negotiations.
So,
Can I get a roll call vote to enter this? So I need a motion to
so we
enter.
can move. Move to move into closed session.
Second?
All right, roll call. We'll start with Councilwoman Hartley.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you all for coming.
Now you can all go home and watch Hogan's Heroes.
Yeah, that's right. You've missed 5 minutes of Hogan's Hero.
How are you, Adam?
Doing well. How about you, Scott?
Good. Good.
Is this going to be a long closing session?
I don't know. I don't know.
I will be right back.
Well, they have to run their thing to pick up the balls. And I can imagine if it's wet or muddy, it'll make a mess of that, wouldn't it? If you're out there trying to collect your range balls with the machine, I think it would be a problem.
What do they have to do to structure?
How much what?
Driving range. Probably quite a bit of a problem.
I mean, maybe not that much, but
We can save.
I can imagine. I don't know how they. I'd have to talk to them, but I don't know.
Longer than I wanted to. I can't,
Oh,
I
is
can't
this what-
understand those.
Then you gotta extend the sidewalls. You have to buy new sidewalls.
Not 40.
I keep
Might be
revising
45.
my time when I'll be home.
Not 45.
I know.
Yeah.
Village Club. I was hoping it wasn't still.
I would just the
Right.
I'd be looking at replacing all
Deal
that.
firsthand without you.
Well, they've already dealt several in 35 minutes, so I told them I thought.
But they'll be more efficient. They'll be a lot more efficient, the sprinklers.